Hey everyone, it's JP here with Meats Fab and Customs again. We're gonna carry on with this chop. It seems like it's taking forever. Part 5, here we go. We're gonna get stuff welded up. I've already got one side here. I got this side here. This is our end result here. That all welded up. Just gotta finish that. Finish the metal up a little bit, but we're pretty good. This here is all really good. You see there's no weld in here. None. These here lines are all lining up nice. A little skim coat, she'll be beautiful. And here all lined up nice. I just gotta do a little work in here, which once I climb inside this car I'll do it. Same in here, just gotta do a little work in here, but we got this all nice and lined up. Body lines all running nicely. If we look here, I got this post here. You can't even tell. That's really been cut in there. If you see, I got a little bit here. I'm not worried about this right now until I get this windshield in, and then because your pivot point's going to go in here somewhere, and so you can hold the windshield out. So I'm not worried about that right now. We'll worry about that when we put that in, which will probably help line all that. But as you can see, this here is all lined up. If you go over to the other side, you can see what we started with. There's how we started, right there. So we got everything all coming in nice and all that. We'll go through how we lined all that up. Same with all back in here and in there and right in here. We'll get that all welded together here. You see in here, it's all welded up nice in there. Body line's all nice. I need to actually just take a piece of tape, probably take a piece of fine line, run it along there. We got a little bit of the body line doing that. We'll get that straightened out. But it's pretty good right now. And then we'll like I said, that there is all good. This here still needs to be cleaned up, but you see here that body line's pretty damn good in there. Body lines are all lining up really nice, which is nice. And we'll get this one here, all work that metal. Like I said, it's what's nice when you TIG weld it all. But yeah, so we're going to carry on with welding this all up. So we'll go through welding it. Like I said, I do all my welding with my TIG welder and all that. So we'll get in here, get this here all welded up nice. I got a gap there I have to fill, but we'll get that filled. Then that body lines right now, they're pretty damn good in here actually. Got to tighten that up a little bit in there, but they're pretty good. So we'll do this first. So what I noticed on the other side, I did the back first, and then when I got into here, I cut those tacks, and actually everything just popped right in really nice and that in there. So I hope I luck out and the same thing happens again. And once I get this here all tacked up nice, like just looking at this right now, I got to pull this out a bit, and you can feel it right there. So I'll end up just putting a little clamp on here and then just pull that so this here all lines up in there nice, because in here it's good. It's done that a bit. So it's no biggie. That's what we'll do in there. And but I can sit here and talk about it, or we can get it done. So let's get this done and start lining everything up here and making the sexiness happen here. And then we'll have this roof all welded together, and we'll get back to doing fun stuff. So here we go. Let's do this. Okay, so I got I put the clamp on here, like I said, to get the twist out of this thing here. So the body line here all lines up nice. It's a little bit off right in there, but that'll be fine. You can massage that. Once we get, I'll tack in here, and actually I'll probably tack right there, and that to hold it from putting the twist in it again. And over in this area right here, we'll lift this and tack that. So something I always carry in my pocket when I'm doing these, and that is, I got a marker, small little screwdriver. Like I said before, I was showing you in one of my other videos. And the reason why, so you run your finger across here and you feel it's off a bit. But if you take this little screwdriver, put it in there, and you just move it like this. The other thing you can do if you have to, you can hold it with your wrist or whatever. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll try to over bend it to hold it. And then when you're running your finger across here, you can tell where. So, you know, for instance, right in here, you can right with your finger, and you can tell where you're lined up. So right there, I'm good. I'm lined up. So what I do is take my marker, so I can remember where it is. I just put a little mark right there. So then I know I can tack it right in there. I'm flush there. So you can tack it right there. So you're not, once you get your helmet down, trying to find it and everything. So in all honesty, probably what I'll do here is I'll tack it there, put a little tack in here to hold this, and then yeah, I'm good there too. So I'll probably put a little tack right there. And then I'll be able to work this in here where this is dropped. Right in there is dropped. So I'll get my screwdriver in there and I'll pry it. But I carry those on me and that, and like I said, you can just reach in your pocket and grab them. Each to their own. If you want to chase after shit, feel free to chase after shit. See, I'm level there as well. So I can put a little tack in there as well. And yeah, that's what I find the best way to do it. So that's what we're gonna do here. We're already tacked in here. This body line in here is nice. We're good in there. Feeling pretty flush in here. If you notice here, it's a little bit out. Right in there is a little bit out compared to there. So what I'll end up doing here is I'll end up just getting a little bit in there, and I'll probably hammer that just a little bit there and then pry this out a little bit to get this all to line up. And that, what's happened right in here, you're at the bottom, right? So you're fat. And then you think about it, you took 5 inches out. Well, this tapers on its way up is what happens. So we're narrower up here. And that is what ends up happening. So that's why what I'll end up doing is you'll hit it right in about there to get this to come in a bit. And then you'll end up working this here out a little bit. So actually, if you have to, you can just put a little slit in here if we have to later on. And just relieve that and let it move a little bit. Hopefully we don't have to. Hopefully we can get that all to move where we want it to move. And that, you know, here's hoping. Because like I said, our body line here is good. And to be honest with you, looking at it here, I may not tack this right now. I may tack here and leave this. So this metal in here will move. Because once I tack this, you can only move this much metal. If I don't tack this, I can move all this that way. So looking at it, and this is why I keep saying, take your time. Take your time and look at this stuff and see. Because with looking at that now, I'm going to hold off on that tack so I can get this metal to move. Because I want this to move closer. But if I tack here, like I said, I can only move this much. You ain't freaking moving that. You might move that bend there a little bit and get it all, it'll start doing funky shit on you. So I'm holding off on that tack. I'm gonna work, I'll tack it here so things don't move all over, and then I'll start working that here, which will allow all this to move. And not just that little bit. So the more area you have to move, the better it is. And so that's what we're gonna do here is I'll tack here and then we'll start working that to get this body line. When you're doing these body lines, just take your time with it. And is what you gotta do. So you wanna line these up first. Get your body lines. This here you can play with afterwards. But get these body lines moving and all lined up, and it'll end up turning out like I showed earlier, how that other side turned out. So just take your time doing it, think about it. So let's get some tacking going on here. I've talked enough. Let's see, I got those tacked. Boom, 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 boom. Got it tacked in here so it gets a twist out. Let's see if I can get this just by giving this a little love and affection. And if you notice, I'm not beating the living hell out of it. Just give it a nice little love. So that there's coming in nice now. We're getting close. I'm just gonna see if I can just pry that out just a little bit so I work the bottom and the top, not all in the bottom, or else you're gonna end up with this happening. So let's see if we can get the top here just to pry here, just a little bit. Getting there. There's a little more love down in here. Like I said, it's pulling it from here right now is what's happened. This here is actually, it's coming in where it's getting flusher in here. So we've got less work to do in there. So remember that before you're gonna want to tack here before here, because if you pry this, it's gonna throw this out again in this body line. So remember, you want to do your body line first, then we can play with this later. We can get that to move out later and tag that so it'll hold it. So we're just, like I said, just one step at a time. Don't be in a hurry. Think your next move's out before you jump and just start welding. Because you've heard me say it a couple times before in videos. You want to see your prettiest welds? They're the ones where you jump ahead of yourself and then you end up cutting them out. Those would be the strongest, nicest welds you've ever hung in your life. And it sucks having to take them out afterwards. Oh yeah. I'm happy with that right there. Really happy with that. So, if you look, it's nice and flush there now. So now what I'll do is I'll hit it right in here. Right about there, and work it up this way here a bit. And then if you look, we're flush here and we're dropped in here. So once I do this, then I'll be able to take this little screwdriver here, I'll be able to go in here. And even your little screwdriver won't work, the odd time you get in there with an old piece of sheet metal, and just pry that up in there. But that's why I didn't weld in here, because now it's movable. Now if you would have welded in there, you wouldn't have been able to move that. So now you can move all this and that. So that's why I did what I did here. And like I said, right in here, you just laid a little tack in here. And that, I'll pull that clamp off. But, you know, we're gonna do the same idea in here. And that, take your screwdriver, go in there. And if you watch that clamp, watch it move. You're moving stuff all in here. But I'll do the same idea. We'll give that a little love and affection. And I'll work this down in, work this out a bit. And that, then you can tack in here. Then you can work this corner in here a bit. So like I said, it's just, think steps ahead. Don't think right at, this is where we're doing. Think steps ahead on where things want to move. And now, another thing, as well as welding that, I got this gap here. And I don't like having a gap like that. Like that there. I really don't. But it's there. So, you know, we got to weld that up. And, you know, a lot of times you get worried about how you're going to weld that up and that. So, if you have very much of a gap, and this is the way I find, like I said, there's probably different ways to do stuff. Actually, not probably, there is different ways to do stuff. But this is what I find works best for me, is when I'm welding. So if I got that gap, I'll go in the middle, and I actually lay out like this. I lay it out crossways, and I'll hit it there, and that to hold everything. And then you can melt it in afterwards. What happens when you go like this, you got thin metal here, you're trying to put this in here, and a lot of times you'll blow this out, and now you've ended up with a bigger space yet. So on some of these spaces, even right here, you know, if you look, you're close. So if you go like this, and hit it there, it'll melt. And then you can get that to melt in. And that in your hole, and that is what you do. Because if you don't, if you see here, you can actually see right there where this started to blow out. I'll fix it and that, but it started to blow out on me and that, where if I would have went like this, it wouldn't have. So when you're doing that, you got gaps, just watch for that in here. And I'll be honest, it's a fine line, because what happens sometimes, so right in here we're really tight. And what'll happen sometimes if you get a really tight weld, as you start putting heat into it, it wants to do this on you in the middle. And then when you go to blend that afterwards, you have a peak. So a tight weld's nice, but you need that little bit of a space. So if it starts peaking, it's got somewhere to go. And that's what I find. If you get these welds, if you get that space too tight, and don't get me wrong, you want it tight, but you want a little bit of space in there, if that makes sense. But that's what I've found. Sometimes you get it too tight, especially if you got a long run, that thing will start going like this on you. And you can't get it to come back out, because when it's gone like this, you got all this extra metal here. And that's when you end up having to recut it. And that, so you can get this to flatten back out on you. So it's something to watch for. That little bit I have right there, we're gonna be, and to be honest, you feel that peak a little bit. I should be okay, because I got room for things to move here. And but in all honesty, you can feel that there's a bit of a peak there already. And so I'm going to dance with the devil here a little bit. Hopefully the devil don't win. The majority of the time the devil wins, but if it does, then I'll slit it afterwards. But just watch for that. You know, it's especially with TIG welding, it'll do that to you. And you know, if you take your fingers like that and you try to push that down, you ain't. Something's got to give. Look, right, you're giving right there. And that's all you're gonna do. If you actually do get that to go down, well, look what happens. And boom. Oh, now you're low because it had to go somewhere. It went into here, so it went out. So now you got to try and bring. So it becomes a battle where you're fighting each other. So let's watch for that, especially your long runs, and because it'll do it to you, and then it's a real bitch to get it out after. I think I'm gonna be okay there, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll go from there. So we're just going to do a little bit of tacking. Like I said, I'm going to get in there in this little groove right there, and we'll get this body line so it's good. Then we can start, you know, more or less I'm going to end up tacking a lot of this pretty well together before we really start laying into it. And if you look, you know, I'm just looking at gaps. Like I got the freaking Grand Canyon right there. And which we'll fix it, because like I said, I want to cut this, and I'm hoping all this is going to move and line up. But I can get it, and that's what we do. But yeah, it's just, to be honest, that one there I'm probably going to have to use thicker filler rod. But yeah, so let's get this body line tacked up. So I got this body line here all welded in here. It's all got to be cleaned up, but we'll get into that a bit here. So now I'm moving on to this right in here. So what you want to make sure here is that this is straight from here to here. And it's not, you know, you may be all nice here, but you may be coming in like this. Heck, I feel like a gymnast right now, or a contortionist, I don't know. But you may be coming in here. So what you do, and I got this tranny mount that hasn't been welded up yet because it's got some straight edges on it here. But what you do is you take it and you put it like this. And I'd use a straight, but you know, it's hard to find one. And you lay it out like this, and then you look in here. It's kind of hard to show on camera here, but if you look close enough, you got a space between there and there. You got a space in here. I don't know if I'll show it. It's hard to see here on camera. But if you look there, see how you got a space there? Right in there. You got a space. We don't want that space. And that in there. Because that there, whatever that space is, that's how much body filler you're putting in there. And we all know what happens to body filler, especially in there, it'll end up cracking. So the less you can put in there, the better you are. I like to be, you know, less than a 16th if I can be. Than that. So what I'll end up doing here is I'll end up taking this mount, or even something probably smaller here, and I'll clamp. I can get in back here, and I'll clamp this together right in here. So your line from here to here will be correct. And I already tried. I've already been able to move it some. So, you know, if you got a small piece of angle iron, whatever, get in the back side here at the C-clamp here, and then pull that all. And if you've noticed here, I opened this up some because it was binding on me and I couldn't get things to move. So now I'll be able to get things to move, and that's probably what happened. It did the little kink in on you. So just get something flat, fairly thick, go on here and get this to come out here in the middle and hold it. And then you just tack it, it'll hold then you can weld it up and you'll have all a nice, really nice weld here, and your body line will come along. So you're not gonna end up with a bunch of body filler in here, because I'll be honest, these cars flex all over the place, even with good chassis, good floors in them. These things flex, and you know, you start getting a whole bunch of body filler in it, you're gonna crack it. And you know, you're gonna pay a whole bunch of money for a nice paint job, and then you're gonna crack body filler. And that sucks ass. So it's, and you know, even if you're going with the patina look, you know, just, I don't know, take time, make it look nice, take time to make this all look good and everything. So that's where we're at right now. I'll get some C-clamps here, clamp this in, and then start tacking this all together so it's all we're nice and have a nice line in here. So that's where we're at now. So I'll get this clamped up. We got, what I got there, a piece of 3/16. Yeah, 3/16 I believe it is. Here clamped, C-clamped in behind, C-clamped up into here. So this is all holding now. It's all got the nice, we're all nice and straight here. So what I'll end up doing, I'm gonna come in here, I'm gonna tack in there, and then I'll start working this round here because we're a little high right in on the edge here. So I'll start working that way there a bit. And but right now I'm just gonna do right there to hold it. Well, this is what's gonna happen here. And then if I have to, I can move this out this way a bit. We got a little bit of tack in there, it should be good. And then, like I said, I'll start working this that way to get this here all, the bottom's a little bit high. And that, not to, it's pretty close. It's really close actually. And it's just a little bit right in, actually the top's high, right in the upper edge here. It's just gotta go that way a little bit. It'll be just a little loving affection with the body hammer, and it'll be all nice. So that's where we're at right now. So I'll just get that all tacked in, and then we'll start working that a little bit. Okay, so I got this all welded up, and I've ground it already. So when I grind these, and it's tough to get into all these little grooves. So what I use, I got a cutoff disc, and I save all my small cutoff discs. And I've gone through this before, and this one here is small. And all you safety guys out there are gonna be all over me for saying what I'm about to say. So if you don't want to do it, just don't do it. Long and short of it, this is what I do. I take these, and all I do is I'm just smoothing out this weld. And why I like these is because you can get into these grooves. And all you're doing is just hitting the weld. You're not cutting into your metal. You're just knocking this weld down to stop the heat. So you're not putting so much heat into it, is what you're doing. So what you can do with these, you can get in like this. And like I said, if you look here, all I've hit is just the weld. That's it. I haven't hit the metal. And I'm not putting much force on it. You're just letting it ride across there. And knocking that down is what you're doing. And when you get into all these little spots, especially when you have to get into here and round this and everything. So that's all I'm doing, especially in here. It's really tight. And then after that, I just take my little small grinder here. This little grinder right here. And then you're just doing the weld again. That's all you're doing. Bringing this weld down to here. And that, because you do not want to take material out of here, and you do not want to cause a whole bunch of heat in here. Because you start getting heat in here, you're going to start getting the funky Komakitas going on, and you're going to wave that thing. So all you're going to do is just take this down and that until it's nice and flush. And once you take this down, then you can hammer and dolly this if you have to in behind, especially if you TIG weld this, because it'll stretch, it'll move, then that. So that's what I do to grind these. And before I get a whole bunch of comments of people preaching about it being a cutoff disc, it's gonna blow up in your face. You're not putting pressure on it. You're just taking this weld down. And that, you can actually use I also have the thicker ones. And that, if it makes you feel better, use a hard stone grinding disc. But do not get into your metal. All you're doing is knocking that weld down so you don't create a whole bunch of heat, is all you're doing. And then you're gonna go at it with your small grinder. Don't start, divoting everything in. Get it nice and smooth. And then eventually we're gonna go at it with the DA sander with 40 to 80 grit to level everything out. So that's where we're at. And that's how we do these. So to do it how you want, that's how I do them. I don't need the preaching about a cutoff disc and all that. I know. So that's where we're at. So I'm gonna get this ground down some. Go from there. I got it all ground, and I've just used my little grinder to do it. I haven't gotten into sanding and all that yet, and really prettying it up. But if we look, all the body lines are nice. This here is all nice. So, you just need a skim coat. A skim coat when you go to do this. And to be honest, if you look here, and I'm gonna do it right now, you look right there. See, I've ground this. This is all nice and that, but you can see here, because I haven't gotten into here. I haven't, taken a bunch of metal. This is low in here. In that, right in that area. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get in behind there, and I'm gonna hammer and dolly that out. And that, what's nice about when you TIG weld compared to when you MIG weld, I can stretch this. So I'm good down in here, but here I'm a bit low. So I'll get in here, I'll hammer and dolly this out, and that. But when you hammer and dolly, you want to grind it first because you can stretch it. If you know you have a low spot and you haven't ground your weld out and you try to stretch, you aren't going to get it. And with MIG, it's really tough because a lot of times it's a cold weld and it doesn't want to stretch for you. And that's why you see all these guys that with the English wheel and all that, they use the TIG, then they put them in the English wheel because it's a softer and it'll move for you. And that's the only thing I don't like about MIG. And I do most of my welding with the TIG for that reason. But like I said, all I'm going to do now is I'll get in behind here with my hammer and dolly, and I'll start bringing that out. Then that is what I'll do, and I'll make it so you can grind that weld, and you'll be able to feather that all. That's moved already. You can feel it. And what ends up happening, I don't know how easy you can see it in the camera here, but actually what ends up happening is this comes out. If you look right in here, your weld's starting to protrude again. And that is what's happening. So now you can grind that weld, flatten it out, hammer and dolly it out some more, grind that weld. But just grind the weld. Don't try to save it by grinding all out in here, because what ends up happening, you make this paper thin. And then next thing you know, you aren't stretching, you're putting holes in it. And it becomes really easy to dimple. There's a lot of metal here. It's thick. It's thick. But don't start taking all your metal out of here. So that's why for right now, while I'm trying to make these all nice, that's why I use my small grinders, just my little cutoff wheels, because all I want to do is the weld. I don't, to be honest, for me feathering this, I use my DA. And that's about as far out as I'm going from the weld, right in there. And so if you start running into problems, don't be afraid if this thing's pulled on you, especially with the MIG, and you start trying to do it in here to get it back here. Cut the friggin' weld out and then go at it, pound it out, weld it again. Because all that's gonna happen, if you don't, and you start chasing it in here to get it back here, you're thin this out, now you're putting a patch in here, and that because you're too lazy to cut this out. So, and it happens. Heck, it happens to the best of us. And where it'll pull on you. And just stop, just cut it, bring it back out, re-weld it. And because sometimes you can't save it. Sometimes it just goes sideways on you. And we've all had it happen. You know, the biggest problem, the biggest thing where it happens a lot of times is back in here where that's a long weld I got to do there. And if you don't spread it out, especially with the MIG and that, get it cooled and stuff like that, and if it pulls on you hard, cut it, hammer it out, hammer and dolly, get it flat again, start over, and save yourself a hassle. I know I had a Model A at one time, and I actually ended up having to replace this whole piece back in here. I had to get a section and weld it in, and it was one that got chopped in here, which the majority of them do, but whoever did it, instead of doing like I'm saying, they just kept grinding it and grinding it and grinding it and grinding it, and still didn't get it right. And as soon as I'd touch it with a welder to do anything, I'd blast through it. So I had to cut the section out and weld. So instead of just doing a weld here, I had to do 2 welds to fix the mess, where the guy who originally did it would have been better off just to open it up and start working it. And so I don't know, that's just what I found. Don't get crazy with your grinder. You'll end up freaking burning through. And if you're just starting out, like I said, don't be afraid if you have to cut and do again. Don't be afraid to. But just know when to stop. And before you get too carried away with it. So I'm gonna hammer dolly out, grind that weld out a bit more, and then that'll be good. And we're moving on to this doorpost. So I'll get that going. Okay, there we go. I got that there all out. I hammered and dollied it. The knot's out. It's all nice and smooth. That's been sanded with, what did I sand that with? 120 grit. So it still needs to be sanded more. I just roughly did it. As you can see, all these body lines are all lining up. Once I get inside the car, I'll fix that. I gotta do the same thing over the other side, like I showed earlier, and bring all that in, but I'll do that from inside the car and that. But yeah, that's all lined up. I still gotta get down in here and get this welded, but for right now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna get on this doorpost here. And so that's next, is this doorpost here. We'll get on that next. And what I'm gonna do, and what happened over the other side, when I cut these welds, this actually, it moved and it brought that side in. I'm hopefully gonna be able to do the same thing cut this, and hopefully it does. If not, I'll get on here with the C-clamp again and bring all this in, and that's so it all lines in nice, and that because it's easier to bring this edge here, your straight edge. If you have to play with this a bit and you have to cut it, it's easier to do this straight edge, especially on these things, because you're hidden when the door closes with your door edge, and that than trying to get this here all to go in. So like I said, look at what, like I said, on the other side I lucked out, I cut it and it all sprang in where it needed to be. Hoping the same thing happens here, because when I first did it, what happened, everything's kind of loosey-goosey and moving around on you. So then once you tie that back corner in like I did, now once this, everything moved for me. So I'm hoping once I cut this, things start moving, and we can weld this here up. Same idea as what we did there. And that, line these edges up, line that edge up, and then just start welding stuff together and make sure everything here isn't doing all sorts of weird ass shit. And yeah, start welding it up. So that's where we're at now. We'll get this here going, then off to the front one. Okay, so I got this to pull. As you can see here, I got a ratchet strap pulling this back some. When you're chopping these welding back together, these ratchet straps are pretty freaking handy. You may need to use it more than once to get things to move around. So yeah, that's what I had to do here. I just had to pull this back so in here would line up and that. And what I'll do now, so now I got back to the trans mount here, holding this all straight. So now I'll get everything all tacked together, and then I can pull this off and then weld everything up here all solid. But yeah, these ratchet straps come in handy, that and C-clamps and everything. And yeah, like I said, I'll just tack that all together now. And then we'll be able to weld this post up and everything there lines up in the window will line up nice. There is, you see there, a little bit of a space here, but that isn't going to be bad. It's easier to fix it here than over here where your window opening is. So line your window openings up, then all your body lines. This here is easy to fix. This might just be a little slit and just, you know, slit it, and then I'll pull it this way out and line it up into there. So do this first, line up all your body lines, and then this is easy to fix. So I'll get this all tacked in, and then we'll go from there. So we got this post here welded up. Here it's all welded up. Right here, if you look, it's just this here. You can see where I got my marker line already. So once I climb inside this car, I gotta do the back, and I also got to do this one. So I'll slit that, and then slit it here, and then bring this all in, so this here all lines up nice. But like I said, I'll climb inside and do it all because I'm kind of fat, and I don't feel like climbing in and out because we wouldn't want to have too much exercise happening. But if you look here, it's a little bit pregnant here. I'm not worried about it right now. Reason being, once I cut this, I'll just give that a little slit. I could do it now and that, but I'll just give that a little slit when I cut here. And then just pull that out. That's all I'll do there. And I'll make that all line up nice. So it's it'll be fixed, but it's just I'm not gonna get into it right now. Like I said, when I climb inside, I'll do both at the same time. And that, like, if you look here, we got a body line. It's all lining up here. That line all lines up. Door, look how the door opens. Door even opens. And that, so this here is all, you know, needs a little bit more, but it's pretty good. But I got a weld in here, so that's why, you know, I ground it, but I didn't get real. I didn't grind it. I didn't finish grind it and that because I still got to spot weld these all in here. I'll end up going from here and running a straight line down to there, and then that'll line all this up, and then bring all that in back to when I climb inside. If we look here, I've already welded all this and finished up this here, the inside pillar here. So, like I said, now the door and everything, it all closes nice, and that, so which is good. That means we did something right. So now we got to move on to here. This is what we got to move on to here now. So, like I said, inside there is all welded up. I need to weld. I can weld this here all up. And then we got to match this. So what I'll end up doing to match this up, and I got to clean some more paint, I'll take a straight line from here up to here, and then you're going to end up cutting this. and wedging that so I can push this back in to come all nice and lined up here. So you'll do the inside and the outside, and then we'll end up in here when this is cut, because we're gonna have to wedge this to get this to go in. Then at that point, you're gonna cut here, and this here will end up pushing into here. So it'll be all a nice straight line is what'll happen. And that's what, if we go over and look at this side over here, is what I've done already. This side here is already done. So that's all been welded there. And if you look here, you can't, if you look, you can't even really, it's got a nice line that's coming all the way up here. And that, it follows. And that's all I did there. I took a straight edge, went from there down to here, and then wedged this so it all comes up. And then inside here, actually you can see that's still, you can see that that's cut still. And that reason being, because like I said before, I got to put the pivot for the window in here. It's going to go in this area somewhere. So until I get that in, I'm not worried about welding that up yet. And that, because this here may actually end up cutting out. You may end up having to cut this out, put your pivot piece in there, then fill all that. So until I get that pivot piece in, I'm not worried about that right now. And that'll come when I'm fitting the windshield and all that sort of thing is where we'll get into doing that. So, like I said, in here is all finished. So I'm going to do the same thing over there, get that all finished up, and all cut. Here's another one. Just do one sort of section at a time on what you want to do. Don't just start getting in there hacking and cutting. And like I said in previous videos, when you do a 28, 29, they're nice because you can actually you cut them right here. You can just cut the tops off, your 5 inches, and that right there, move your hinge down the 5 inches, boom, you're done. You don't have to get into all this shit in here, which is nice on those. You can do them quick. Like this is 28, 29, I'd be drilling 2 holes, and I'm done. I'm finished, actually, and mount your doors. But with this being a 30-31, the cowl in here and doing the hinges is it's kind of a pain in the ass. On the 28-29, your hinges bolt here, so you can just re-drill holes to make them bolt and bolt them in, which is nice. But the 30-31s have a nicer cowl, so it's 6 to 1, half dozen to the other on on which one's nicer and which one's prettier. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do right now, and yeah, that's what we're gonna do right now, and we'll get this all welded up, looking pretty. Okay, so we got the lines here all drawn up right there. There we go. So right there. So what I'll end up doing, I'll take the cutoff disc, run it up here, and then right in here, I'll take the cutoff disc again, and we'll cut this out so I can lay this all back to line this here all up. So that there'll all be a nice straight line. Same thing on the inside here. And do the same thing there. Lay this back, and then when I cut this, be able to lay that in, and everything here is all gonna look. It's gonna look sexy, and that'll be the window post. So it's just so we'll get that all cut and everything, and make that happen, and then we can get all that welded up and all looking pretty, and carry on with. I still got to finish up there in that back corner and everything, and get that finished up, and we'll go from there. So I have everything all cut here and tacked together. Like you see here, we're all flush here, flush here. You get in here tight, you see here, we got a bit of a space here, but I'm going to fill that. I'll fill that with thicker filler rod, so in the end I can round all that over. And that all in here is all fit nice. And that, like I said, I'm not worried about this yet because I got to put the pivot in here for the window yet. So chances are this is going to get cut out here, and that pivot's going to go right in here. And then I'll worry about that. But that comes once I do this window frame and everything. So now it's just a matter of welding all this up right here, welding all this up, and then you're going to grind this all nice so this here all comes in so your edges all follow, just like the other side does. And that. So that's where I'm at right now. So by doing this, like I said, it all comes in nice. Your edges are all nice and straight and everything. When you're done, you won't even be able to see that cut. So that's right there. That just needs to be, once I get this, I don't want to take too much material out of here until I get this here all welded up. And then I'll flatten that all out really nice so you won't even see that. And, you know, in the end, it'll just be like a little skim body filler, and it'll be good to go. So you won't have you know, 1/4 inch body filler or anything like that. It'll just be a little skim. Some of it you can probably even do with high build primer, and you'll be good. So yeah, so let's get this here all welded up, and then all the posts and everything are all welded on this car, and it should be good to go. And it actually looks like something square and everything. Kind of weird, but yeah, let's get this welded up. So the post is all welded up here, and everything all lines up, looks pretty. Then that matches the other side, so everything's squared up and level. So yeah, so all the posts are all welded up now. Everything's all welded up. So now the next part we're going to be doing is the garnish moldings and window frame and all that stuff. Time-consuming stuff. That stuff takes forever to get it all to fit nice. I got a couple more welds I need to clean up and stuff, and then the next video will be cutting these garnish moldings up and the window frame all up and everything, and getting that all ready to go. So that's time consuming and that, but everything else here is all it's lined up. The other thing, once I climb inside like we did with those lower ones in a previous video, I got to make pieces to hold the frames and everything. And that, where we took all the wood out before, so it strengthens up these doorposts and that. So that's also, I'll probably do those at the same time as I do the garnish moldings and window and all that stuff. So for now, that's where we're at there. I still got some more finish welding and stuff to do. Still got to finish welding that back window in. But it's pretty much the same as what we've been doing, and just you know, weld, grind, repeat, till it all looks pretty. But just the biggest thing, take your time while you're doing it. Take your time lining everything up. Don't be in a big hurry and that. You know, the more time you take now lining stuff up, the easier it is when it comes to doing body work. You're not freaking laying a whole bunch of body filler in, which later on in life is going to crack and stuff like that. So take your time. Just take your time, line everything up, make everything look pretty, and it saves you time in the end. So if you liked what you saw, subscribe, like, share, you know, all that good stuff, and you know, get out there and build something cool. It's still, I don't know where you are, but it's still winter here. I still have another month and a half, 2 months before before you can get out and drive stuff. I drove the wagon a little bit, but yeah, I'm back to driving the Duramax. But you know, get out there and do something cool, and you know, catch the next video. But make sure you share, like, follow, all that good stuff, and see you again here shortly. Have a good one. Bye.